Opposition members in Georgia are appealing to the EU to investigate the government's savage crackdown on protesters during the country's Independence Day. Well, they were demonstrating against what they say is mass top-level corruption and accuse President Saakashvili of suppressing political freedom. The opposition says that hundreds of people are still being held in jails. Many others, including senior political figures, are reported missing. Well, those who continue to speak out against the government say they're being violently harassed by special forces. Opposition leader Nino Bujanadze spoke about what she sees as the dire state of democracy in today's Georgia.
Georgia has become very similar to North Korea, where people are beaten, taken to hospital, brought back to jail, beaten again and taken to emergency rooms, where people are forbidden from visiting their loved ones, where people are terrorized, and where Georgian security forces silence criticism of the government under the threat of more violence. This is the democracy we live in. I can honestly say that I will have strong doubts whether democratic values even exist in this world if the international community doesn't acknowledge what is going on today in Georgia.
Now, Georgia's opposing voices say they're under some of the most intense pressure they've faced in years, believing their government's intent on wiping them out. Well, RT's Sara Firth was in the square in Tbilisi, which was the flashpoint for this week's violence, and she says dark clouds still hang over the city.
Well, what we're hearing is that in the aftermath of the dispersal of that protest on Wednesday night, is that the crackdown on the opposition is continuing. So what we were hearing through Thursday, we said it was the Day of Independence military parade, and certainly the atmosphere was very subdued. There was a heavy military and police presence remaining on the streets. Many of the streets were closed. We saw a lot of the people at that parade itself were military personnel. They weren't civilians turning out to watch that. So certainly very subdued, and what we've been hearing since then is that this crackdown has continued. Now, RT's crew have actually received a text from someone who says he's Nino Bujanadze's son, the leader of that opposition who led the rally. And what he's texted through to RT is that it's a really very serious situation, according to him. He knows a number of people, including opposition leaders, who are missing. He's talking about people who are still being arrested, essentially saying that the opposition are still being silenced by Saakashvili and his government.
Witnesses and even policemen say many people have been beaten to death. Some of my friends have been arrested. There are dozens of opposition supporters that I can't reach, and 8 of my friends have simply disappeared. I cannot meet with reporters. Almost all Bujanadze's bodyguards and most of his supporters have been arrested. One of the opposition leaders, Saakashvili, is missing. They arrest everybody who dares to ruin Bujanadze. Saakashvili has basically endorsed dictatorship.
In the days leading up to Wednesday, what we saw were the numbers turning out to the demonstrations were markedly less. Now, there are actually divisions amongst the opposition themselves. Originally, Nino Bujanadze and her party were going to come together with some of the other opposition parties. They called a day of rage. That was at the last minute called off. A lot of the demonstrators we were talking to, they were very confused. They didn't know quite what was happening. As the evening drew on, it was quite clear that something was going to happen. The police turned out, and we knew that the intervention, the dispersal, was going to go ahead. Once they moved into the crowd, it happened very, very quickly. It was extremely violent. The number of people who were there for the amount of police that turned out, a lot of people saying afterwards, was that sort of justifiable? A lot of people thought not, and it was excessive force. One of our own correspondents who works the Spanish channel was hit by one of the rubber bullets. You know, if you were outside that main area of Parliament, then you were fair game to them, and certainly the force that they were using was, as we said, a lot of questions being asked about whether that was excessive force and whether it was justified.